now and when he leaves office. But first tonight, as President-elect Obama assembles his governing team, some of the members of the new administration charged with change look awfully familiar. Joining me, MSNBC's political analyst Pat Buchanan, and American Prospect editor and author of Obama's Challenge, Robert Kuttner. Pat, let's take a look at some of these faces. I mean, they are not the new kids on the block. Eric Holder tonight for Attorney General. Hillary Clinton for Secretary of State. Joe Lieberman stays on as Senator from Connecticut and prime member of the Democratic caucus. Look at this list. We got Lieberman on, Podesta, Emanuel, Holder, Clinton. The list goes on. I'm looking for the new face. Pat.
Well, look, we're in retread city is what's going on. This is the Clinton Alumni Association showing up.
No, you're
here.
a Nixon Alumni Association.
I'm Nixon alumni, but you know what Eric Holder is, he's a very competent, able man, but the thing he's most famous for, as you mentioned, is a pardon. Frank Rich's pardon, which he expedited on behalf of Bill Clinton. He was going to run for mayor of D.C. He's as local as you can get. I don't see anyone from outside, real change here. These people are undeniably competent, but this is what you'd expect if someone else had won.
This is what you do when you don't have elections. You simply promote the people, Robert Kuttner, who had the deputy jobs. You could do this in any bureaucratic state. You could do it in the old Soviet Union. Do it anywhere you have a bureaucracy. You don't need to hold elections to promote deputies to the top job when it comes time, right? You don't need elections for this crap, do you, Robert?
Well, I
You just keep promoting people from within in any old tired bureaucracy. That's what you do. You don't think. It's very Republican thinking, Pat, by the way. By the way, he didn't pardon Frank Rich of the New York Times. He pardoned Mark Rich. I know you've got Frank on your mind, but just kidding. We all make mistakes here. Go ahead, Robert, your thoughts.
You know, the baffling thing about Hillary Clinton being put forward for Secretary of State is he did not need to do this. Supporters of Hillary Clinton were pretty well resigned to Obama being president, expecting Obama to be a good president who would be good for their issues. This was a case of not letting a sleeping dog lie. And you have to ask the question why he did it. Did he do it because he had some kind of understanding with Hillary before the election, where she would support him enthusiastically in exchange for being named Secretary of State?
That's illegal.
Well, it's illegal, but it happens in politics all the time.
You're suggesting he broke the law.
No, come on. I'm speculating.
Just listening to you. I'm listening to what you're speculating about.
I'm trying to imagine what was in his mind, because Hillary comes attached to Bill, and Bill is full of complicated messes. Hillary can make all kinds of commitments, but she obviously can't commit Bill to doing anything that Bill doesn't want to do. So why do you need this mess?
Let me just say, and I'll say why. Hillary Clinton got 18 million votes. It's been a long tradition in American history. You can go back to Lincoln and Seward. You can go back to Wilson and William Jennings Bryan, of bringing into your cabinet the person who carried enormous numbers, in Hillary's case, 18 million voters. Put them together with yours. Hillary Clinton has a vested interest, just as she had in endorsing and working for Barack Obama, in doing a great job as Secretary of State. She's more able and competent, I think, than any of the other names. She's more famous worldwide. And I think this is a positive move on Barack Obama's part. I don't agree with either of them, but it's a very big move.
Well, but you know,
Robert,
Seward wasn't.
I guess the question is, what posting? If the biggest issue between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama was judgment over foreign policy and whether it was right for America to go into the war in Iraq, and that's where Pat and I agree, it was wrong, why pick the person who was 180 from you? In fact, was really the reason you won the nomination is because people disagreed with her position. They went with yours because you were changed and she was experienced. You were against the war. She voted to authorize it. And then to go pick the very person who people campaigned against for a year and a half. That's the question. Not whether she deserves a post or not, but the one on foreign policy, I guess, is the question, isn't it?
Well,
Robert?
Sure. And team of rivals is one thing, but Seward was not married to Bill Clinton. And what makes this really messy is the Bill Clinton problem. Hillary Clinton is a very talented woman, and Pat's right that if 18 million people voted for her, it's a party unity gesture to bring her in. But how do you deal with the Bill problem, Pat?
Well, Bill, I think Bill is, with due respect, I disagreed with his war in Kosovo, but he's very knowledgeable, very experienced. He worked his heart out for peace in the Middle East. I think he understands it. And Chris, to your point, I mean, by your standards, he would have ruled out Biden for vice president. Biden was big pro-war, and Biden got beat, I mean, 50 times as badly as Hillary did.
Yeah, but
he recanted.
But if I may, my concern is that Bill Clinton has his own foreign policy that's all enmeshed with his presidential library, his business interests, his fundraising interests. Who needs this? I mean, there are lots of other competent people to be Secretary of State.
Robert, you're implying corruption. I mean, you're implying that Bill Clinton will persuade his wife to make decisions on behalf of his business clients.
I can't believe that I'm debating Pat Buchanan and Pat Buchanan's defending Bill Clinton.
Pat, let me ask you about the, Pat, you've been through these things. You and I have been through these things. They're called the full field investigation to get any appointment in the government. Yeah, Peace Corps, I had to go through it. I went through with a White House job. You have to go through a full-field FBI investigation of every neighbor you ever... In fact, you have to list every house you ever lived in, every apartment you ever let. You have to tell them everybody you ever hung out with, frankly. It's an amazingly exhaustive process. Does Bill Clinton really want to go through that in terms of all his relationships around the world? I'm not getting cute here, but does he really want to have a full-body search on this kind of... Every time he took a trip from somebody, every airplane ride he ever took? I mean, it is really complicated.
I think, Chris... It is complicated, but if he were not prepared to do that, I think he would have tried to persuade Hillary Rodham Clinton not to have run for president because the same things would have come out. And I think he wants to see her as Secretary of State.
Not necessarily.
And my guess
first husbands don't have to go through a full-field FBI search. They get the job. It comes with the marriage. That's not Pat, you're wrong. It's a totally different question. The rules of engagement here for appointment are different than election. You know that.
I know they are. I know they are, but Barack Obama couldn't probably pass a full-field FBI investigation, given Bill Ayers and all that stuff. Look, he certainly can.
Pat, you've escalated here. I didn't say pass it. I said, do they want to go through it? And the question is, at the end of it all...
He obviously is willing to.
Okay, well...
If he weren't willing to, she would have ruled herself out. It's as simple as that.
The president has promised unity. We all like the sound of it. It has a kumbaya, gee whiz quality to it, but it hurts because it means forgiving. It means accepting. It means dealing with people who were against you and hurt you. Is this something bigger than we're used to, where he says, Hillary, not only do I forgive you for being against me and the shots you took against me and your husband took against me, I'm going to give you the best prize there is for a president to give, Secretary of State. I'm going to let Joe Lieberman come back in my... Could unity be the real change? In other words, it's not changing the tires, it's changing the car.
I think, Chris, I think you got a point, Chris, but let me say this. I think I say yes, look, but he's got to do something that you're suggesting. If he brings in Hillary, he ought to get somebody who really makes Daley Koss and the rest of those people enthusiastic. Somebody they got in the cabinet, or 2 or 3 in there. The Holder thing doesn't make a great deal of sense to me. Obviously, he's competent, but I don't know what that does for him. But if you're going to bring the unity side, you also got to bring the folks in who carried you through the primaries and won it for you. That's the way to do it.
Well, that's the question. What are you going to give Bill Richardson? What are you going to give the people that stuck their neck out like Claire McCaskill? Not that they won anything. No, Robert, who gets something here in terms of the victory on the left, if you will?
Well, the American people get something if he leads, if he really takes the country in a whole different direction, if he's prepared to regulate the financial system so we don't get these bubbles again, if he's prepared to spend serious public money so that a recession doesn't turn into a depression. That's ultimately more important than whether Hillary Clinton is Secretary of State. And unity, unity
you still, Chris, should have people in there. You still should have people in there who folks can look to. Just like if it's a Republican administration, you want someone the conservatives can look to, or 2 people in the cabinet who are arguing their case. So I agree with you on that. They ought to find someone who really represents those folks, give him a big position, a prominent position, and so that make those people happy. You can't make everybody happy all the time.
Well, I agree with you guys. Please come back, both of you gentlemen. Robert, please come back. I want to tell you something, because I want somebody from the liberal side of things to offset Pat here. But let me tell you something. Anything that everybody thinks that politics ended on Election Day is missing the beat here. It's just begun. Pat